Some cookies look innocent, a soft chocolate chip at the bottom of your lunch bag, the classic sweet finish to a burger run. But as fast food chains battle for dessert supremacy, a shocking truth emerges. Not all cookies are created equal. Some sit on racks for 6 hours, losing their soul long before they hit your tray. Others are so overloaded with sugar and salt, they'll leave you wondering if anyone actually tasted them before signing off. Today, in fast food cookies ranked worst to best, we're exposing where the baking goes wrong, why hold time ruins classics, and which chains treat cookies as an afterthought. The worst might surprise you, and the stakes for your next sweet treat are bigger than you think. So how bad can bottom-tier cookies really get? Let's find out. Jimmy John's claims freaky fast delivery, but their approach to cookies is anything but urgent. The standard chocolate chip sits on a rack, sometimes for 6 to 8 hours, quietly drying out while sandwiches fly out the door. Fresh from the oven, the cookie is pillowy and sweet, but by lunchtime it's more relic than reward. The texture starts soft, with a doughy middle and scattered chocolate, but as the hours tick by, moisture flees, leaving behind a crumbly edge and a center that turns from chewy to cardboard. The flavor doesn't pick up the slack. One note sweet, heavy on the chocolate chips, light on everything else. There's no hint of brown sugar depth, no salt to balance the sugar rush, just a flat, sugary wallop that fades fast. Store volume is the real wild card. A busy downtown location might cycle through trays quickly, but in quieter spots, cookies languish until closing. Jimmy John's doesn't even pretend this is a dessert destination. The cookie is a sidekick, tossed in as a lunchbox afterthought, rarely given the dignity of a fresh batch. If you're lucky enough to catch a new tray, eat it immediately. Wait 10 minutes and you'll wonder why you bothered. Burger King's contribution to the cookie world is the classic 2-pack, a value play that sounds better on paper than it tastes in reality. Each cookie is small, soft, and uniform, the product of commissary baking and mass transport. There's no edge set, no contrast between crisp and chew, just a soft, almost doughy bite that dissolves without much resistance. The flavor is a gentle suggestion of chocolate, more sweet than satisfying, and the chips themselves barely register. Quality is a coin toss. Some stores hand over cookies that are fresh and warm, while others serve up limp, cold discs that taste like they've been waiting for a friend who never showed. Even at its best, the Burger King cookie is a snack for the impatient, a quick sugar hit that disappears as fast as it arrives. The value is hard to argue, 2 cookies for pocket change, but the portion feels stingy, especially when the eating experience is so forgettable. The signature 2-pack format is more about convenience than quality. If you catch them warm, there's a fleeting moment of comfort, but that window closes fast. For both chains, the cookie is an obligation, not a passion. They clear the lowest bar in fast food desserts, setting a baseline that every other chain manages to step over. Dunkin' lands at number 10, and it's a case study in missed potential. The chocolate chunk cookie rotates in and out of stores, vanishing for months or returning as a seasonal afterthought. Some markets get it year-round, others treat it like a rare Pokemon. When you do find one, the experience is a roll of the dice. The texture is soft, sometimes so thin you can see daylight through the middle, sometimes just dense enough to pass for a real bakery treat. Dunkin's best runs have a hint of brown butter or a little extra salt, but most of the time it's just sweet on sweet, with chocolate chunks that melt fast and disappear even faster. The biggest problem isn't the recipe, it's the inconsistency. Franchisees decide how long cookies sit in the case, and in low-traffic stores, they can linger until they're more relic than reward. The cookie works as a coffee add-on, but rarely as a standalone treat. If you want a fresh one, you have to ask, and even then, you're at the mercy of the last delivery. Dunkin' has the brand power to do cookies right, but the execution just isn't there. Arby's clocks in at number 9, and here's where ambition outpaces discipline. Their salted caramel and chocolate cookie is dense. Think candy bar meets cookie, with a heavy, almost fudge-like chew. The sweet-salty mix should be a slam dunk. and on the first bite it is. But keep going and the sugar starts to pile up, turning what was once interesting into a chore. The texture is pure heft. No crisp edge, just a thick, chewy slab that feels engineered for maximum sweetness per square inch. In busy stores, you might get one that's still soft and warm, but in slower locations, the richness can turn stale and the salty finish goes from balanced to briny. Arby's gets points for trying something different, but the cookie is best split with a friend or washed down with black coffee. It's a TikTok darling for a reason. People love novelty, but the buzz fades fast when every bite tastes like the last. Value-wise, it sits in the middle, more expensive than the basics, not quite premium enough to justify the price. The salted caramel swirl is memorable, but the cookie's staying power depends on how much sugar you can handle in one sitting. Both Dunkin' and Arby's show how good ideas can stumble at the finish line. One can't keep its cookie fresh or on the menu, the other delivers sensory overload with little restraint. They're not disasters, but they're not dessert destinations either. At this tier, a cookie needs more than a clever twist or a seasonal comeback. It needs to deliver, bite after bite, every single time. Wendy's steps in at number 8, proving that in-store baking is both a blessing and a gamble. The chocolate chunk cookie here is baked fresh throughout the day. At least that's the promise. When the timing lines up, the result is a soft, chewy center with just enough bite around the edge, the kind of texture that commissary cookies can't fake. But there's a catch. Hit a low-volume store, and you're just as likely to get a cookie that's underbaked, with a gummy middle that clings to your teeth, or one that's been sitting so long it's lost all its charm. The real secret is timing, catching a batch within half an hour of the oven. Get it right, and the chocolate chunks are still glossy. The crumb is tender, and the warmth brings out a mellow sweetness. Wait too long, and the cookie loses its edge, both literally and figuratively. The flavor is straightforward, sweet with a hint of brown sugar. The chocolate chunks big enough to matter, but not always evenly spread. There's a risk-reward calculation every time you order. Value-wise, Wendy's sits in a comfortable middle ground, more expensive than the bottom tier, but you're paying for the chance at a bakery-style treat. For best results, time your visit with peak meal rushes, when turnover is high and the tray is likely to be fresh. Starbucks lands at number 7, and here consistency is the name of the game. The thick, chewy chocolate chip cookie is engineered for reliability, with every location serving the same supply chain product. But Starbucks understands the power of temperature. Ask for it warmed, and the cookie transforms. The exterior gets a light crisp, the center softens, and the chocolate chips begin to melt just enough to leave a trace on your fingers. Texture is the headline here. Never dry, never greasy, always that perfect middle ground. The flavor is balanced, leaning semi-sweet to pair with coffee, never cloying or one note. Starbucks doesn't chase novelty, it chases repeatability. You know exactly what you're getting, whether it's 8 a.m. in Seattle or late at night in Miami. The cookie is sized to match the brand's premium feel, and the price reflects that. It's not a bargain, but it doesn't pretend to be. The real move is to always ask for it warmed. Without heat, the cookie is merely good. With it, you get the full soft chewy experience with just enough edge set to keep things interesting. Late afternoon and late night sales spike, especially as a coffee pairing, so Starbucks has every incentive to keep cookies moving and fresh. For those who value certainty over surprise, this is the gold standard of predictable indulgence. Both Wendy's and Starbucks show how timing and temperature can turn a simple cookie into a memorable dessert. One bets on the thrill of a fresh bake, the other on the reliability of a warm-up at the bar. For anyone chasing the perfect bite, it's all about knowing when to order, and never settling for a cookie that's lost its moment. Pizza Hut's pan-baked cookie lands at number 6, and it's the first real curveball in the lineup. This isn't a single-serve afterthought. It's a dessert engineered for group demolition, built on the same pan logic that made their pizza famous. The secret is oil, lots of it. Each 8-inch pan gets a generous swirl, coating the bottom and sides in a layer that's closer to shallow frying than basic baking. That oil isn't just for show, it drives the signature texture. The rim crisps up, the base fries into golden armor, and the center stays warm and gooey long after it leaves the oven. The result is a cookie with distinct zones, a caramelized edge that snaps, a middle that's all soft chew, and chocolate chips that melt into little pools. Portioning is a ritual. Cut into wedges, it demands to be shared. But the oil is a double-edged sword. Wait too long or let it overbake, and what started as crispy can tip into greasy. The trick is in the timing. Vent the pan as soon as it's out. Serve while the contrast between crisp and goo is at its peak. For pizza night crowds, it's a showstopper. For solo diners, it's a commitment. Value-wise, it's hard to beat for group occasions. You get a dessert that feels like an event, not an afterthought. Domino's takes the number 5 slot by breaking the rules entirely. The marbled cookie brownie isn't a cookie. It's a dessert bar with an identity crisis, and that's its strength. Here, cookie dough and brownie batter are swirled together in a pan, then baked until the edge is crisp and the center stays fudgy. The science is all about controlled chaos. Cookie dough is chilled, then dolloped and barely swirled into the brownie base. As it bakes, the brownie anchors the structure while the cookie sections rise and set, creating a dessert with real texture drama. The edges are crisp, the brownie is dense, and the cookie swirls stay just underbaked enough to melt chocolate chips into gooey veins. The portioning is straight from the pizza playbook, cut into bars, stacked in a box, designed to travel. Consistency is where Domino's shines. Pan bake means every batch comes out with the same goo to crunch ratio, no matter who's working the oven. Serve it warm, vent the box, and you get a dessert that eats like a hybrid, part cookie, part brownie, all comfort. The price per person beats most bakery counters, and the shareable format makes it a default add-on for group orders. Both chains prove that format is everything. Pan baking isn't just about scale, it's about manipulating heat, oil, and timing to create textures you can't get from a rack or a case. Pizza Hut bets on nostalgia, serving up a cookie that's equal parts crispy and gooey, best tackled by a table of friends. Domino's goes for hybrid innovation, swirling 2 classics into something that's more than the sum of its parts. In the middle tier, these are the desserts that punch above their weight, not just for what they are, but for how they're built. The era of the pan cookie and the marbled bar is here, and for anyone tired of single-serve sameness, this is where the game changes. McDonald's lands at number 4 with an approach that's all about operational muscle and mass appeal. The cookie tote isn't just a menu item, it's a logistical flex. 13 soft-baked chocolate chip cookies, boxed up with a carry handle, priced to move, and engineered to feed a crowd. The math is hard to beat, even at the new higher prices, $12.59 in some markets. You're still getting a warm, fresh-baked cookie for under $1 a piece. But the real magic is in the process. These aren't pulled from a warehouse or thawed from a freezer. They're baked in store, in big batches, with timing that's dialed to the minute. When you order the tote, staff often fire up a fresh tray, meaning you get cookies still radiating oven heat, chocolate just starting to melt, and that signature chew that only lasts for about 15 minutes. The tote's popularity has even thrown a wrench in kitchen flow. During peak hours, a single tote order can stall the entire dessert line, forcing a pause while a full batch bakes. But for customers, that wait is part of the ritual. The payoff is a box of cookies that holds warmth just long enough to survive the car ride home, with each one soft, chewy, and loaded with classic brown sugar chocolate chip flavor. It's a format that's quietly conquered office parties, after-school pickups, and late-night cravings. The tote isn't just a value play, it's a case study in how scale and timing can turn a basic cookie into a fast food icon. Subway claims the number 3 spot by flipping the script on cookie marketing and turning a simple dessert into a viral sensation. The foot-long cookie didn't just launch, it exploded. Debuting as a pop-up in Miami, it sold out in less than 2 hours, then resurfaced as a full-time menu item in January 2024. In the first 5 months, Subway moved over 5 million of these oversized cookies, despite having to pull them from delivery and app orders because demand outpaced supply. The format is pure spectacle, a single, warm, foot-long chocolate chip cookie, cut to share or devoured whole, with a soft center and a light edge set that stays warm long after it leaves the oven. The recipe isn't revolutionary, classic in-store baked dough, no wild mix-ins, but the execution is all about timing. Order during a live bake cycle and you'll get a cookie with molten chocolate, a tender crumb, and just enough structure to hold together. The footlong's real superpower is its shareability and its TikTok appeal. Videos of people unboxing and stretching the cookie racked up millions of views, pushing Subway's brand rec scores higher among social media users than the general public. At $5, it's a group dessert that feels like an event, and it's now a staple at parties, study sessions, and friend meetups. The footlong cookie isn't just a treat, it's a marketing engine that turned a humble bakery item into a national talking point, all by scaling up the format and nailing the moment when warm, fresh, and fun collide. Both chains prove that scale and timing aren't just operational details, they're the difference between a forgettable add-on and a true fast food legend. The Cookie Tote and Footlong Cookie have set a new standard for what big chains can pull off when they treat dessert as a headline act, not an afterthought. Panera's Kitchen Sink Cool. Cookie comes out swinging with the kind of ingredient list that reads like a dessert dare. Chocolate chunks, both milk and semi-sweet, caramel bits, pretzel pieces, and a crown of flaky salt, all packed into a cookie that's thick enough to double as a paperweight. Each bite delivers a collision: the chew of caramel, the snap of pretzel, the slow melt of chocolate, and just when the sweetness builds, a hit of salt snaps everything back into balance. The center stays moist long after baking, thanks to the sheer size and strategic layering of mix-ins, while the salt on top keeps the sugar in check. It's a bakery flex that travels well and holds its own, whether eaten fresh or after a long commute. But this much ambition comes with a price. The cookie is heavy, both in hand and on the wallet, and the sweet-salty act can tip into overload if you're not in the mood for maximalism. Still, there's no mistaking the intent. Panera isn't chasing nostalgia, it's building a cookie that stands out in a world of sameness. Chick-fil-A's chocolate chunk cookie lands at number 1 by doing less, but doing it perfectly. The formula is simple: dark and milk chocolate chunks, rolled oats, real butter, and a dough that's mixed and baked fresh every day. But the execution is where it wins. The oats aren't filler. They bring a subtle earthiness and a texture that plays against the melting chocolate. The butter base gives each bite a rich, almost toffee-like depth, while the chocolate stays layered. Some bites hit with bittersweet intensity, others mellow into milk chocolate comfort. Fresh from the oven, the cookie bends without breaking. The edges set just enough to hold the warmth. The middle stays soft and almost gooey for a precious few minutes. Timing is everything. Eat it within 15 minutes, and you get the full effect. Chew, melt, and a clean finish that doesn't coat your mouth in sugar. Even after cooling, the cookie holds its character, never going dry or crumbly. The price is fair, the portion generous, and the consistency, whether you're in a drive-thru in Atlanta or a dining room in Boise, is nearly bulletproof. The oats and chocolate combo isn't just a twist. It's a quiet innovation that gives this cookie its signature identity and a reason for fans to come back. Panera aims for a statement piece, a cookie that's a meal and a conversation starter. Chick-fil-A refines the classic, stripping away the excess and trusting in ingredient quality and bake discipline. Both land at the top by knowing exactly what they want to be and delivering on that promise, bite after bite. Across America's fast food chains, the default cookie varies from rack-held basics to daily baked standouts. This ranking, built on texture, flavor, and value, found Chick-fil-A's oat and chocolate chunk cookie holding the top spot, while Jimmy John's and Burger King lagged with shelf-worn commissary-baked options. Consistency remained a challenge. McDonald's Cookie Tote offers 13 cookies for $4.59, yet freshness depends on store timing, and Subway's viral footlong cookie delivers only when baked to order. Not all recipes or bake protocols are fully disclosed by chains, so some sourcing details remain proprietary. Still, the evidence is clear. Operational choices, from in-store baking to warming options, make a measurable difference in quality. As menus and methods evolve, only brands that prioritize fresh baking and ingredient balance consistently rise to the top. In the end, the best fast food cookie is shaped as much by process as by recipe, a fact that every sweet tooth can taste.